Okay. I'm Harry Fisher, Chair of the Board of Estimate and Taxation. I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the BET, Monday, June 23rd at 6:35 PM. If everybody would stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item on the agenda is an executive session. If I could have a motion to go into executive session. It's been moved by Mr. Silp, seconded by Mr. Alfano, I believe, to go into executive session at 6:35. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. First off is, up is,
You need to turn off your mic.
oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, we have exited executive session. The only action taken was a motion to relieve executive session. We're now going to move to the next item on the agenda, which is the assessor's report.
Hello. Excuse me. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the BET. I'd like to present the assessor's report for June 2025. As you all know, I hope, that tax bills went out on June 16th. They are due back on August 1st, which is a Friday, I believe. So far, we've had some questions about the new motor vehicle pricing. But for the most part, once everybody's explained that it's a new way of valuing their motor vehicles, it seems to be, they seem to be suffice with that answer, and we haven't really had too many complaints concerning the new valuation portion. In here, you'll see the final numbers for the credits for the firefighters and seniors, and you're going to see this year that it went down considerably. It went from, well, actually, back in 2020, we were at, 2022, we were at $906,000. In 2023, we were at $835,000. And this year, in 2024, we only gave out credits of $736,000. We went back and looked at the reasoning for that. First of all, we increased the firefighter credit, so they're getting more. However, we seem to be losing seniors. They seem to be selling their properties. And can't say I blame them. It's a good time for them to sell. Other than that, I went over our litigation. We have 5 more cases that were added to the 2024 grand list. There were 3 residential and 2 commercial properties filed. I also would like to just take one moment and thank Pete Minarski. It's been a pleasure and a privilege working with you. I'll miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. Thank
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions?
Yes.
Mr. Weisbrod? Oh, missed his copy. Any questions? If not, I have a motion to accept the assessor's report.
So move it.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Tarkington, seconded by Mr. Alfano to accept the assessor's report. Without objection, that's adopted 11-0-0. Okay.
Just adding, Ms. Tarkington,
Because that was the executive session. Can't say it now.
no, but we just have, when we compare the state and the town tax relief numbers in the assessor report of $737,000, that's versus $1 million in our budget, so that's $250,000 to fund balance.
I was also, the one comment I was going to also make was that to see the increase in the number of volunteer firefighters that are applying for the credits is also encouraging. it's going up again. So
Right.
that's very positive.
Okay. We've actually already dealt with the item,
I know. Fast.
but thank you. Okay. Next is requests for budget adjustments. The routine applications I will read out. PS1, parking services, $30,000, a transfer for the meter pole project. PW 12, DPW, $325,000, capital carry forward for the Greenwich Point facility improvement. PD 5, the police, $120,000, transfer related to overtime. NW 1, Nathaniel Witherell, $500,000, transfer for supplies and materials.
Did you make that a motion or,
I'll move the routine items.
and I'll second that.
Is there any objection to passing that 1100? Seeing none, those pass 1100. So we'll move on to the non-routine items. The first one is SE 7.
No, we're going to wait on that one. Remember?
Oh, we're going to, yeah, I'm sorry. We're going to wait on that because the town attorney is meeting with the RTM Claims Committee. We'd like to hear that they're in favor of it also, or not also, but in favor. So PD 6 is the police, a 50,840.60 table of organization adjustment related to the police scheduling coordinator. We have the police chief, Jim Heavey, with us to describe this, please.
Since I've repeated this numerous times, I want to make sure I got all my reference materials ready for. Let's see. Okay, so in 2016, I requested permission to add a position called a side job coordinator. This is an individual who manages all of the side work that the police department does. My desire in establishing this position was to create better accountability and make sure the officers stay safe by monitoring the hours they work. And I would know where they are. They're in our uniform. They're performing duties within the town of Greenwich. It is on occasion a force multiplier because if there is a townwide emergency, they can respond as well. They all have radios and they're ready to go. In this particular case, we hired a disabled retired police officer. His name is Bill Paul. He's done an outstanding job since 2016. However, because of a charter requirement at the time, he was only allowed to work no more than 25 hours. Nathaniel Witherell and the police department have the exception to the 15-hour rule that all their other town retirees have, like someone who might want to work at town hall after they retire. However, it really only allowed him to perform the part of the job. And the position was fully funded for several years, but a few years ago, the then town administrator moved the position to a .73 position rather than full-time. There has been recent charter change, which now would allow Bill Paul to increase his hours. There still is a cap on the amount that he'll be able to make due to the fact that he's not able to get to a position currently under the town charter to make more than $83,000 a year, because that's what his salary was upon his disability retirement from the police department as a sworn officer. Some of the advantages for having him do more hours is that we do have some outstanding balances over the course of the last couple of years, and we'd like to be able to have him be able to work on that. And then again, other paperwork. Also, he now does a more frequent audit or a monthly report to the finance department. One of the things that's also been a great advantage to the town is that when we set this up, we established a $5 fee per hour that the officer works, and that's been a revenue stream for the town over $3 million since we first started it, approximately. We already had a discussion at other meetings prior to the full BET meeting that perhaps we'll be looking at increasing that number or that cost because it hasn't been raised in 9 years, and we will be looking at that. We think that having him full-time, again, will be an improvement in the level of service to the community, because right now, in addition to not being able to go after the outstanding accounts, because he only works part of the day, the desk sergeant is then obligated to take in intake of these jobs. There's another aspect that's also accountable in that area is the use of police cars. If a job requires the use of a police car, we have an amount of money that they'll pay. For 4 hours, it's $50. For 8 hours, it's $100. And again, that along with the $5 amount goes into the general fund. The scheduling coordinator position was shared with you as part of the packet. And in addition to that, there was also when they did the audit, there was a look at the side job duties and responsibilities. And as if you can look at those, you can see that there's considerable additions to the job since he first started. The example of that would be that he does billing for about 90 school crossings a week during the school year at all the private schools that have officers doing traffic and safety security at each of those schools. So I think this is a value added to the department, and that's why I'm here. So,
Any questions for the police chief on this matter? Yes, Karen.
Chief, on an annual basis, how much money is made on these side jobs for the town with all the fees and all the rest of it? Do you know?
So in 2024, it was $362,228.50, which I don't know how they got 50 cents. And the previous year was $341,471.25.
I'm impressed.
I still don't know where the 25 cents came from either.
Anybody else? Yeah, Elliot?
So when you think about the cost of the administrative aspect of running the program, are you taking out some of the revenue that we generate and applying it towards that person, or how do you think about that?
Well, the chief would like to see some of that money come back to the department. I would also like some of it to come back to fleet because of the vehicles, but all of that goes into the general fund. In other agencies, other departments in the state, some of that money does go back to fleet, some goes back to the department for an open line, and then some of it actually goes back to training or maybe supplies like equipment for the officers' uniforms, things like that. So, that hasn't been the case so far.
But so just to clarify, of the 364, is all of that going to the officers?
No, that's the part that's going to the town of Greenwich.
That's the part that's going to the town of Greenwich. How much is going to the officers?
Zero.
In 2024, the town of Greenwich billed $6,242,550.50. In 2023, we billed $5,364,883.50. So the officers are paid at a rate of $80 an hour, and for every $80 an hour work they do, the town receives an additional $5. So it's not subtracted from the $80.
So the net difference of $5 totals the 364. Do I have that right? So what I'm trying to understand is how much money are we collecting? How much money are we paying out to the officers? And what are we doing with the money, the net difference?
Right, so a little bit about so we bill the officer, bill the jobs that the officers do, and we pay them right away. The town has a particular line item of revenue, and then we have an outstanding amount, and in different years like this, currently about $130,000 is still outstanding for 2024. And then in 2023, about $51,000. Of that $51,000, there's a $23,000 item that's a single item that is actually being contested. We're working it out with Eversource and a subcontractor. But generally, like in 2020, we had no we had all of our bills were paid, everyone paid us, and in 2021, we had about $5,400 that we haven't recovered back.
But assuming that everybody pays their bills, so we're collecting $6 million roughly?
No, well, we're collecting over $6 million, but we're paying out about $6.2 million. Our net, and I want to make sure I get my math terms right. This is about $360,000 at the end of the year.
So the program is costing the town $360,000?
No,
So we're making $360,000, and the $360,000 is going, you could argue, to pay for this position that
Correct.
you're.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
No.
Anybody else? Mr. Cal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Heavey, $5 out of 80 is just about 6%, right? So 6% is going to the town, and the rest is, what is it, 94% is going to the officer.
Well, the officer gets 80, and then we charge $5 over and above that $80.
Right, okay,
Correct.
so it's actually $5 out of 85, not $5
Correct.
out of 80. So it's, let's say it's 5%-ish, right? 6%, okay, I'm back at 6%. Okay, so, you said it hasn't been looked at, but, is there an opportunity for us to get more revenue out of this to the town?
There certainly is, but remember, Mr. Cop, you'll probably not get invited to your neighbor's party if they hire a cop because they want us to charge an additional amount. One of the things that, as the chief, is I worry that if we try to get a few dollars more, that some people will decide, well, they're not going to hire the officers. And I much prefer having the officers both for all the traffic assignments and for parties, so that there's a certified officer there. So I think it's, for me, as the chief, I think it's a safer thing. So we certainly could look at that. And there are some other agencies in Fairfield County and in the state that charge more than us. So we're going to, again, we promised the budget committee that we were going to have a look at that to see maybe we would increase that.
Thank you.
Mr. Weisbrod.
Chief, I probably should know this, but when you see the police officers accompanying utilities on some of the utility work, is that part of the side job, or is that a
Yes,
separate?
that's correct.
That is also.
Right.
And
The
we're also charging the $5 for them as well,
Yes,
to the Eversources and all the rest? Okay.
absolutely.
Great, thanks. There we don't care as much. Well, we care. It's not
You're
about
paying
getting.
for it either way.
I
You
have
might not
not-
get to go to the party, but you're going to pay
All
for
right,
it in
I've
your
not been
electric bill.
invited to many Eversource parties, but
Okay, anybody, just a suggestion, you could also make the fee a percentage, and then when your hourly rate goes up, it automatically climbs also.
Understood.
So that's a thought process. Any other comments, questions? Okay, I have a motion to approve this, PD 5. Mr. Weisbrod moves it. Mr. Cal seconded. Do we have a report of the Budget Committee, actually, too?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Where is this? This is- Can't find it.
You're looking at the
So
previous
we-
month's minutes.
No. Sorry about that. No, so the Budget Committee took this matter up. We did have some questions, as the chief has said, and so I think we're going to have sort of a updated report in September. But the Budget Committee voted 4-0-0 on this, voted unanimously.
Okay, any other comments or questions? It's been moved and seconded by Mr. Weisbrod and Mr. Kalb. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, this passes 11-0-0. Thank you, Chief.
It was right here.
Next is FI4, the Finance Department. Another TOO adjustment for a customer service accounts payable specialist. Who wants to take this? Joan's going to take this.
Thank you. There are several factors contributing to the need to increase this position from a .71 to a full-time position. Due to increased volume in accounts payable, we're estimating that in fiscal '25, we will have processed a few thousand more invoices than fiscal '24, and other personnel factors currently impacting the department. The senior accounting supervisor has been pulled into day-to-day processing of accounts payable. This is not efficient or optimal use of her time, as we need that role to focus on department goals, including the following major areas and initiatives: day-to-day management of the workflow of the department. That's one. Two, performing regular control procedures, analyzing agings of the invoices, agings of POs, et cetera. User access, reviews, and permissions. Three, assisting with formalizing policy and procedure, especially around some HR-related items. I mean, travel, entertainment, and mileage, et cetera, reimbursements. And four, managing special projects primarily around fully leveraging the capabilities of the Munis enterprise system. As you're all aware, the Finance Department is in a time of transition with 2 open M&C positions as of next Tuesday, July 1st. The Deputy Controller, or whatever the new title might become, and the Assistant Budget and Systems Manager. We're currently evaluating what these positions will look like going forward. This current position that we are requesting to be full-time, at which the proposed title will probably change, so whatever the title is, but we're calling it Customer Service Accounts Payable Specialist, will need to assume additional responsibilities, including additional BET support, accounts payable processing, and other budget and general ledger responsibilities to accomplish the goals of the department as noted above. I'm happy to share more specifics on these goals, either now or at another time, but the senior accounting supervisor will be instrumental in moving us forward. So she should not be doing the day-to-day processing that this position will be able to absorb. That's it.
We have a report of the Budget Committee.
Yes, the Budget Committee took this up. It's primarily a change from a part-time person to a full-time person. And, we received information similar to what Ms. Lynch has just reported to us, and the vote of the Budget Committee was unanimous, 4-0-0 on this particular change.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve this? I'm going to try to go to regular order and then have discussion.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Selps moves it,
Second.
and Karen Fasiliotis seconds. Discussion, Ms. Fasiliotis.
Yeah, one of the things that we did learn was that this is a union position, so that it would have to be posted, and that people with seniority would have, preference. That's correct, right?
That is correct. We're asking for approval for the position. We will likely wait a little bit to have it actually posted, but we can talk through that timing.
And the job description is still has to go through HR, from what I
And they are
understand.
working on that, and that should be done very shortly as well.
Anybody else? Mr. Cowell.
Yes, so, Joan, this is now, this is happening under your watch, right? This is your determination, it's your administration here going forward, and this is something that you think that makes sense and that you need. You're still trying to get your arms around the whole department and everything, but you think this is an essential piece, is that right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so I guess the only thing I would say is like, look, this is, if you think you need it and this is important and you make a good case, I'm fully supportive. But again, it's under your watch, so that means you've got to be able to sort of clarify as you going forward and you're shaping the department exactly how each piece is going to be functioning. And, and we're going to be looking to you to supervise it, make sure we're getting the services that we need. for the, you know, the positions that we're allocating.
Well, yes, like I said, I agree. And again, I'm happy to talk through the thinking and the process, but we will be working on that from now until we figure out where we're going to be going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, this is approved 11-0-0. Thank you all. So we move on to ED3, Board of Ed, $325,000 release of conditions. We have with us the superintendent,
Is that a motion?
Dr. Jones.
Did you move that?
Sure, I'll move this forward.
And I'll second that motion.
Dr. Jones, you have the mic.
Thank you. I am standing in tonight for Ben Branion, who is on a very well-deserved vacation.
Your mic isn't on. You got to push the button. There you go.
There you go.
Didn't
Green
push it
light.
hard enough. I'll start again. I am standing in tonight for Ben Branion, who's on a very well-deserved vacation. I think he did put together a very good memo for you. So I'm just going to read a couple of the points that he wanted to make. First of all, we are ready to sign the contract. It's ready to go with AECom within the allocated budget. And we will get that signed ASAP with the design ready to come in August or September. And we're hopefully going to be going out to bid in December. Time is of the essence, just as a reminder that we do have a monthly expense on the temporary system, and that includes the chiller, the sound attention mats, the cabling, the scaffolding. Mr. Branion did look at, again, he had done this before. He went back out and did another deep dive to look at priority grants, non-priority state grants. And the state grant is one that often they will put out, they will give us a deadline. Right now, we don't have any announcement about any of those grants, but that could, in fact, eventuate over the next year, and we'll be watching for that. And we are also very mindful of managing the community impact and how long this project goes for. And that's one aspect of the priority grants that causes some concern, is that if we got on the June 30th list, that doesn't happen until the spring of 2027. Not only do the costs continue to go up, but that's a long time. So again, we're going to be watching all of these grants. We will apply for everything that's imaginable. And on the ITC credits, we had hired outside assistance with that because that became a very complex issue. And we were not eligible due to the amount of the existing system that we're retaining.
Questions? Ms. Tarkington?
So, thank you, Dr. Jones. On the memo that Ben provided here, it does mention under the priority list grants and the non-priority list grants for the state opportunities, that both of them would need a building committee. So are you looking at that, and what are the next steps if you're going to consider those grants?
I think we were looking at that. Right now, it's really deciding, again, does the timeline work, and is it going to be at the 20%? You know, we've had a lot of percentage changes over the last couple of years, depending on what they decide, you know, they're going to give us. If it's at 20%, it would probably be wise to go with the building committee. But if it's not, because it can slow us down, and that's what we have to be also mindful of, are the dates that go along with those priority grants.
But it would appear, based on the numbers that we had seen, that even a 20% grant would be perhaps over $1 million. Is that correct?
20% would be fantastic,
I
yes.
mean, you know, $1.25 million, whatever it is, but, so it might be worth having a building committee.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that Ben has argued that point at all. I think it's where we're concerned in the priority list. If you look where he's listed that spring 2027, that's the biggest concern with the priority list.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Moriarty?
Now, just to put some more information on the table, because, you know, it's always pros and cons with going with the state grants, because they can hold you up, not just building committee, and clearly September is the first opportunity to create one within town because the RTM meeting schedule. But then they often require those checkpoints before you can go out to bid. And you just gave us a schedule where you want to go to bid in December. So just so there's clear communication, if one of the non-priority list grants, looks like that's off the table, the non-priority list grant would have to become available with the next 4 months maybe for it to even be considered. And then there could be a decision point at that juncture on whether the steps required to get it versus the cost to the town for not moving ahead, both financial costs, because we have the monthly cost for the rental. There's going to be a time issue in terms of when you can do construction. If school's in session, there's probably some things you can't do, and how that relates to the school year and the academic year. And then there's the non-financial aspects, which is the impact on the neighborhood and the students of not replacing this session. So it sounds like the way you're asking to move ahead is to release the condition so you can move ahead with the design where you're ready to start that work, and that you'll continue to look at grants, and as the timing in September comes up or whatever, that more information is available, be able to make the determination, yes, we're moving over this way or that way, going off for that grant. And not all grants require a stop for review. Some of the other grants may not require that. But I think just to make sure that this board kind of understands the steps required and the expectations on your part. Am I stating the case correctly?
Absolutely. And when we've talked about it, it's that we want to look forward, assuming that we may not get a grant, but we're going to do everything possible to try and get grant funding, which I will say, even on the non-priority grant, our delegation in Hartford has been very helpful, as you know, on many of our projects, and have even joined us on state grant meetings. When we went for the first HVAC grant, we did not get the first round, but we did get the second round. And part of that, I believe, was the state delegation helping us ask for clear criteria in what they wanted to see from school districts, because we weren't the only school district in that situation. But so we'll be watching all of those this coming fall, and now, really, all through the summer.
Mr. Deschamps.
Just to that point, for the benefit of the body, I took the liberty of reaching out to the state delegation today, and they reiterated what Dr. Jones mentioned. They stand ready to support this project from a funding perspective, grant funding perspective. Also, I think it's worth reminding the body, too, that EMAC has been focused on the grant funding for some time now. As Dr. Jones stated, and as was stated in the memo, these grants have been previously already reviewed and discovered and researched. And EMAC, and as the liaison to EMAC, I will assure the body that we continue to pursue all grant funding to reduce the cost to taxpayers.
Ms. Tarkenton.
I just want to, through you, Dr. Jones, just to thank Mr. Branyan for this memo, because he had less than a month to do this, and he really covered a lot of bases. So, I'd like to thank him.
I will
for all
share
this
that
work.
with him, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Kalb.
Yeah, hi Superintendent Jones. Peering at you over the top of the of the podium there. I think I need to grow a little. I just want to clarify the numbers here for a moment, because we were discussing this earlier. What's the carry cost right now for the solution that we have in place? What's the monthly cost?
It's $25,000.
It's $25,000 a month. Okay, so what we're talking about here is releasing $325,000, $350,000?
325.
325, okay. So, and what's at stake is a potential 20% reimbursement of that 325. We're not talking about the 20% stake reimbursement on the entire project, which we're going to continue to work towards. So I don't know, this is how I'm thinking about it, but to the extent that this saves us time, it's potentially we might lose the 20% reimbursement on $325,000, which is around $65,000. But if that saves us 6 months of time in terms of replacing this system, that actually saves us, or it's certainly a year. it's a good trade for the town. It saves us a lot of money in the long run. And we can still be trying to get that 20% reimbursement on the total project of whatever it is, $5 million, or getting $1 million back. But my point is that anything we can do here by releasing these funds to move ahead with the study, this work that needs to be done, so we can kind of accelerate the project, will save us money, I think, in this process.
Just to be clear, this is architect and engineering
Right.
funds, not study funds.
Right. It's
It's A&E.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry if I misspoke. That's what I
Okay.
was discussing. But I'm saying that we need to do the A&E study.
A&E work, okay.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else? Karen?
I'm just curious, I mean, I think that, a 20% reimbursement would be fantastic. I'm still a little unclear as to why, why wouldn't we be pursuing this with, I mean, I understand that you're under a time constraint for 325 and you want to get this started and will likely not have that under a building committee, but why wouldn't we be pursuing a building committee immediately to get it in place by September so that we can then go forward once the A&E is in place?
That would be a question, would be probably better left for Ben. He's not opposed to a building committee. I know that he's had that discussion. I think the issue with the priority list grant really is the timing. It is submitting in June 30th and then not being able to know that the award would be made until the spring of 2027. So the timing is not very conducive for trying to get the project done.
I mean, I get it, but, I'll leave it at that. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to release the conditions. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, this is approved 11-0-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Okay, we'll move to the comptroller's report.
Good evening, everyone. I gave my first comptroller's report in September of 2004. 220-something later, this is my final report. I only have two comments to make. They're noted on page 1. The annual budget process, it's a year-round process. We just finished last month the process. There was a little bit of spillover, but we're going to start all over again. Ms. Tarkenton will be doing the budget guidelines shortly. Also on the same page, the audit process is basically become almost a year-end process. Again, my staff, we've all been working, we'll be going 100 miles an hour, closing the books, getting the record set up for the auditors, and we'll be going straight into the audit. And that'll be it. So again, I will take any questions on the controller's report.
Any question, Mr. Weisbrod?
Mr. Fisher, there's a question for you. Will we have a moment to say a few words about Mr. Minarski?
Yes, we're going to do that under my chairman's report. We'll do some things then.
We'd like to take an opportunity to say a few words.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take it up then. Anybody else on the comptroller's report? Mr. Kalb?
Just a quick Scrivener error on page 1 of your report where you said that the retirement fund, let me see if I can find that, controller's report, blah, 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 retirement board. Yeah, the May 31st, 2021 portfolio snapshot showed a total composite market value of 680 million. 680.7 million. This is up from the April 30th, 2025 values of 72 million.
The 6 is missing.
Yeah, you're missing the 6, so just
Yeah.
put the 6 back in there, right. That's all. Little tiny thing.
I move that we accept the controller's report.
Moved by Ms. Tarkenton and seconded by Ms. Moriarty. Any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, that's accepted 11-0-0. If you would give the treasurer's report.
Any questions on the treasurer's report?
Any questions?
I move that we accept the treasurer's report.
Moved by Ms. Tarkington, seconded by Ms. Moriarty to accept the treasurer's report. Any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, that's 11-0-0. Next, we have BET Standing Committee reports, and Mr. Alfano has a report of the Audit Committee.
So the Audit Committee met on June 12th, where we went over the draft audit report fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. It's a state and federal single audit. The federal and state compliance report identified multiple material weaknesses and instances of noncompliance by the Board of Education, many of which are repeat findings from the prior year. A large part of the occurrences is due to high staff turnover in the BOE's finance department. The 12 months covered are from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Key issues included the BOE's failure to properly reconcile the schedule of expenditures of federal and state awards, CFA and CISA, with the town's basic financial statements, resulting in significant adjustments by the auditors. Additionally, the BOE violated grant accounting standards, leading to material misstatements of revenues, receivables, and net positions. To address these, the town and Board of Education have implemented new reconciliation procedures, improved interdepartmental communication, and enhanced grant training and oversight. Several reporting deficiencies were also noted. The BOE failed to submit required federal reporting packages on time in both 2023 and 2024, and did not maintain documentation for required reviews of reports submitted to state and federal agencies. The BOE has acknowledged these shortcomings and committed to ensuring timely submissions and proper review procedures in the future. Additionally, the BOE improperly included encumbrances in federal reporting and failed to document equipment inventories in accordance with federal guidelines. They plan to address these issues by enhancing tracking and inventory processes and improving understanding of reporting requirements. The audit further revealed procurement weaknesses, including missing documentation to support adherence to the BOE's purchasing policies, and failure to verify vendor suspension and debarment statuses. Specific procurement concerns related to the BOE's transaction with vendors like a produce company where purchasing policy was not properly followed. The BOE has agreed to improve documentation and compliance procedures moving forward to prevent the reoccurrence of these issues. Finally, significant weaknesses were identified in subrecipient monitoring, particularly in the administration of the School Readiness Grant Program. The BOE lacked proper subaward agreements, monitoring plans, and documentation to ensure compliance with funding limits and licensing requirements. The BOE has indicated that changes at the state level, including the new Early Start Connecticut program beginning in fiscal year 26, will shift responsibility for grant administration away from the BOE to family centers, potentially resolving these longstanding issues. I want to again point out that this is a backward-looking report. The BOE and the Town Finance Department have been working together to address these findings. The fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 audit will be starting soon. The findings should be much improved from the prior year due to improved policies and procedures and employee stability. Peter, is there anything you'd like to add that I left out?
I actually had some comments under the item for approval. Can I just wait till the item comes up for, but David did an excellent job on the single audit. He went deeper than I would have, but I wanted to talk at a higher level about the acceptance. Is it okay if I defer until the item comes up for vote? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. It appears we have a report of the vote of the
Hello again.
Claims Committee.
Yes, no surprises. They voted unanimously to accept the 18,000. So you're the last group to discuss this.
All right, so why don't we take up SE 7? I need a motion.
I move that we approve a settlement of $18,000 for Ivanov et al. Versus the Town of Greenwich.
Seconded.
Seconded, Mrs. Castellanos made the motion. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, that's approved 11-0-0.
Thank you. All right, well, have a great evening. Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Any
Is there any progress on, report on progress of Old Grange School?
I'm sorry?
Old Grange School, do we have any update? High level.
Yeah, high level, the bids came in somewhat higher than expected, and so the building committee is looking at how it can either work with the subcontractors. We have not accepted any of the bids because they came in higher than expected, and we're looking at, the traditional value engineering process to see where we can reduce costs. The building committee has been working on this. It's been working intensely on it, but unfortunately, I don't have news to announce at tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
No.
Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing about that next meeting.
Yeah.
Um, New business, we have the OPEB board appointments. Is anybody on the investment advisory committee want to speak to that since the chair is not here?
Scott, do you want to speak on the OPEB board? I guess we
Sure.
reappointed Rob Hartwell.
Yes, so very quickly, there's a position, so currently, I'm on the OPEB board, and so is Nisha Aurora. We're both on the OPEB board. Oh, thank you. We have, so you have to be a member of the BET to be on the board, except for the chair, which is independent. That's Mr. Harteveld. So we first voted to recommend to the BET 400 that Mr. Harteveld be reappointed chair. And then the positions actually on the board have sort of time, they're staggered. And so there was one position that needed to be reappointed, which ends in June of 2028. And so the committee voted to reappoint Nisha Aurora into that position, which expires in June of 2028. In the meantime, Ms. Aurora and myself continue to be on the board through the end of this term.
Okay, thank you. So we have a resolution which is resolved that the Board of Estimate and Taxation reappoints Ms. Nisha Aurora to a term on the OPEB Trust Board expiring June 30th, 2028, and further resolved that the Board of Estimate and Taxation reappoints Mr. Robert L. Harteveld of the OPEB Board as chairman of said board for another term ending June 30th, 2026. Since that comes from a committee, it doesn't need a motion or a second. Is there any objection to unanimous consent on those appointments? Seeing none, that's 11-0-0. So now we come to the acceptance of the federal and state compliance report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. I'll recognize Mr. Menarski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll repeat, David Alfano did an excellent job. I just wanted to give a little educational bring this up a little bit as far as educating the BET about accepting these reports every year. Let me start off by saying this is the ACFR, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. We go to market every year, and this is the report that they look at. This is what every town puts together. This is we have the certificate that it's in conformance. In it, it's got a bunch of revenues and expenditures. It's got all your fund balances on a GAAP basis and a budgetary basis. It gives you a lot of information on your long-term debt. It tells you about your pension plans, whether they're fully funded, et cetera. This is the most important document for the town of Greenwich or in any other town. It has an unqualified opinion. Okay, I want to set that straight. This is the single audit. The difference is, this is mandated by state statute. You're required to have this report filed with the Office of Policy and Management and other repositories if you go out to market by December 31st. If you can't go out to market by December 31st, you have to ask for extensions. We've done that the last 3 years because of GASB 87, GASB 96, and 3 years ago because of the new Nathaniel Witherall issue. I want to compare that to this document, which is what you're voting on tonight to accept. This is the known as the Federal and State Compliance Report. It's a compliance report. It's not mandated by state statute. The major difference is if you get grant monies that total more than $750,000, you're required to get a single audit. This is a single audit. It combines federal and state grant monies. Within this document, there's 60 grants that have been audited. In the old days, they used to audit them one at a time. They said this is crazy to have this many different opinions offered on each one of these audits. So what they did a number of years ago is they combined them and they put it into two sections. One section is the federal section, one is the state section. Unfortunately, and I've been doing this like for 40 years, this is the first time I've ever, in my experience, has had a document that has been qualified. Okay, and the reason it's qualified, out of the 60, the auditor zeroed in on 2 audits in the Board of Education, one in the school lunch and one in the regular GPS Greenwich school system. So this child nutrition program and the school readiness program, which are 2 of the 60 audits, they looked at them and they looked at areas where we were deficient. And I'll give you an example of one area we're deficient. On the school readiness program, it's a pass-through grant, meaning we're the recipient, it goes out the door to a third party. Back when we got the ARPA monies, we got $31.4 million. Back then, we had Fred Camillo, you had Ben Branyan did all the heavy lifting. You had the budget committee members back then, Leslie, I think it was Mark, was it Andy Deuce and Jeff Raymer? Do I have it right? They did an incredible amount of money. Of the $31.4 million, we had 19 subrecipients. We did an RFP, went out to all the third parties, and through the RFP process, we awarded it to 19 different subrecipients. TAG, United Way, Adult Center, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of work was done on the town side. Each one of them had to have a subaward, which was a legal agreement that was run through the law department. And for that grant, which is one of the 60 grants in here, we spent an incredible amount of time working on compliance to make sure that we had subaward agreements. Now, when we go to the deficiency and we have the Board of Ed getting written up, because of what David alluded to is the turnover and the lack of experience, they had no subaward. So they basically entered into an agreement with a third party and we got written up for it. And you could say that basically it becomes a repeat comment when you have one person leaving, no one training the next person, another person leaving, no one training the next person. So basically, what I want to do is, again, you've got to take put this into context. This was done with the year ending June 30th of 2024. We've got all new players. And on the Board of Ed side, you have Ben Branyan, who's gone back. You've got Patrick Lay, and we've got Gloria, somebody. And more importantly, we have Joan is the new comptroller who spent an incredible amount of time in the last few weeks working with the RSM and the Board of Ed people. So when I say I want to put it into context, all of the people responsible for the deficiencies are gone. You have all new people. And we're putting in a lot of effort into making sure 2 of the 60 grants, as far as the comments going away, they can't go away because the next audit year has gone another full cycle. So unfortunately, we have to wait until the 26th audit, the 26th audit for it to completely go away. But what I wanted to point out to you is the major difference, because this is a compliance report for expenditures only. This is the document you hang your hat on, which is the ACFR. So what I'm really trying to do is defend the Board of Education of the Greenwich Public Schools, but I also want to point out and say good luck to the new comptroller who will stand up here a year from now and will not make the same speech. That's all. If you
Thank
have
you,
any
Pete.
questions, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Mr. Weisbrod.
Yeah.
That's very helpful, as always, very helpful. And I do think, you're implying, though, that the 25 compliance audit will also have questions because, unfortunately, this is coming out so late in the process. So it'll really be another year that we have to. Having said that, I do think that the issues and the management action plan, albeit the Board of Ed, it does need to be tracked and followed in the audit committee that David is leading and reviewed here. I hear you, and I can see from your tone that this is not something that's, a good outcome, although we need to put it in the right context, as you just did, and we get. So my only point is that we should really put some formal process around tracking the management plan to resolve these issues so that, we review it both at the audit committee and I believe here at the full BET on some periodic basis. I would respectfully suggest to the chair that we do that. Can we get your view? Is that something you think would be useful and desirable?
As far as resolving the
Well, no,
deficiencies?
we have an action plan to resolve the deficiencies, and the question is, the oversight that the BET provides, is that via the audit committee and then through this full committee, is that something that's useful?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms.
May I ask a
Tarkenton?
question?
I was just going to point out that I think that the audit committee, and as shown by the report that we heard from its chair, seems to be on top of this, and I'm sure there'll be follow-up within the audit committee. And I think that's probably what's needed at this point in time.
Mr. Olczak.
Thank you. Pete, does a qualified audit trigger any disclosure requirements either to the rating agencies or regulatory bodies like the MSRB? Are there any requirements for us to disclose this?
Well, you are disclosing it by filing with the Office of Policy and Management. But as I stated earlier in that short speech I just gave, is the credit rating agencies, they look at the ACFR. They look at that document. And one of the deficiencies is when we were written up, for example, one of the discrepancies is some of the numbers in here don't tie to the ACFR, okay? And they explained it that it's almost 100% of the time, as far as accuracy, is timing differences. We might recognize revenue in a year where the auditors say, well, wait a minute, it's not a revenue, it's an unearned revenue. And then when it goes past July 1st, it becomes a revenue. But to answer your question is, I've been doing it for over 30 years. I did credit reviews for the city of Stamford, for the town of Weston, for the town of Trumbull, and here. And they've never asked the question from this document, nor have they ever asked for this document. It's not, to answer your question, it's not, we're not in trouble because of this qualified compliance report. It's one-sided, it's expenditures only. What you have here is you've got a matching of revenues and expenditures. Here, you've got expenditures only, and the deficiencies are where they don't line up properly because of timing differences. That's notwithstanding the two comments that were referred to qualify or modify the opinion. One of them, the child readiness opinion, as David said before, it goes away. They're no longer going to be in that grant business. But it's a long-winded way of saying no. It's not, we're on record by filing this with the state. So we're not, the credit rating agencies are not going to see that. I mean, if you wanted to use something, an analogy to try to put it into context, it would be something like if we did an audit of, pick a department, you want to do beach cards, and you found out that somebody was stealing money, or you wanted to do something else, another internal audit where you have lack of internal controls in a certain area. The credit rating agencies are not going to see that. It's a serious internal control issue, but it's more dealt with the auditor and management, which is you guys, the audit committee and the BET. But I think am I answering as far as the credit rating agencies?
Yeah, well, I mean, the credit rating agencies, it sounds like what you're saying is they will see it, but they'll have to go to, they'll have to go to the other report to see it, and more importantly, I think what you're saying is that that won't be an area of concern to them.
Yeah, they won't see it. They don't even ask for it. What they look at in a high level is, for example, they look at financial. They want to know financial results. They want to look at see what your fund balance is on a GAAP basis, budgetary basis, your fund, your liabilities in the debt area. They want to look at administrative. Do you have financial people that are coming and going? Lack of continuity with high ranking. For example, the Board of Education could be an issue. Debt, they're going to look at how much outstanding debt you have. They'll look at your ratios. And then they spend a lot of time looking at the economy. If you've watched the credit reviews, they go down and they'll ask for example, anybody big in town leave, any major company come in town, they'll ask you about your sales in the real estate. So they look at those issues, not this document.
I get that. I understand that. But the first thing any lender looks at, literally the first thing they look at is the opinion qualified or clean. That's literally the first thing they look at.
From this document.
From that document. And I think that's the important thing that you said.
Okay.
Anybody else? Mr. Kalb?
Thanks, Pete. So it looks, when I'm reading through this, and also thank you, David, for your report, a lot of things are kind of nitpicky. It's like, well, you didn't do this, and it's possible that you might have missed something because you didn't do that. It didn't say you did. It just said you might have missed something. And therefore, you should have something in place to make sure that you don't miss something that you might have missed. So it's a little funny, but it's
exactly the word that we used. That was, we talked with the partner before the presentation to the audit committee. I didn't want to use the word nitpicking, but you used it.
Yeah.
And they used the term, there's a box we didn't check.
Right.
I'm trying to diminish the seriousness of a report that says, I mean, if CPAs, you go, there's four, you have a qualified, unqualified, adverse, or subject to opinion, and something like that. They're serious if you violate that. What I'm trying to do is set a tone here where I don't want to diminish it, but it's not as serious as if this document got qualified.
Right, this one didn't. Okay, so I guess, I mean, I'm seeing those things in a lot of cases, but, so I take the point, and also quite clearly that this is a compliance document related to a very specific topic. It's
Yeah,
not an
if-
overall report card for the town. But that having been said, nobody likes to get bad marks,
Yeah.
I got to take it seriously. And so, all right, it's nitpicking, so we'll try to address those things. But there are some things in there, there are a couple of things in there that were a little concerning, like not having
Agreed.
monitoring in place to make sure that you're not giving a contract to somebody who is not in compliance with state law or something, or somebody who's been put on a bad list and you don't have a process in place to monitor that, so.
If I may, can I just go back a little bit in as far as the nitpicking? And nitpicking might not be the right word, but I did a lot of work on the town side. And one of the things that came up, do you all know what a DUNS report is, a DUNS number is? Okay, they don't exist anymore. So when we got the $31.4 million, the U.S. Treasury told all of us that got money, every town, county, city, state, that they had to have unique entity identifiers, UEIs, okay? So as we went through, and I was checking on all the vendors, and there was a number of them out of, I think, we've got 47 plus a 48th minus, we've got 47 projects. So every time we hire a vendor, they've got to have a UEI, unique entity identifier. Some of them said, what the hell is that? I mean, it says, I have a DUNS number. He said, they don't exist anymore. SAM.gov, SAM.gov, you go online, they're easy to get. So what happened was I had to make phone calls to Public Works, Board of Education, Mr. Watson or something like that. There were 3 or 4 or 5 occasions where they didn't have the UEI. So what I didn't know was you were also supposed to check, and I didn't get written up because they didn't look at my side of it, to see if a firm had been disbarred or suspended with a UEI number.
Exactly.
So they got written up, okay? I didn't know about it because I simply went in. When I found 1 or 2 occasions where somebody's UEI was not current, I went to the department and said, call ABC Construction Company and tell them that their number has expired, kind of a thing. That's what I'm saying about nitpicking, as far as your comment about nitpicking. There is some of that in here. I do not want to diminish that. We do have deficiencies in grants reporting at the schools on a lot of the grants, that the IDEA, the Perkins Grant, the PEGPESIA, the Titles 1, 2, and 3s. That has to do with turnover, and that is serious because one of the issues that came out of that was we had a $3.5 million, for example, that we never applied for in a timely manner that was sitting out there. So I wanted to separate the nitpicking items from the serious items that are in that report. Did I clarify that as far as nitpicking?
You did. I guess my point was that I could see that there were some real, kind of, as you said, tick the box kind of items about things that are, that you want to correct, but are not as concerning. But there are some concerning things in there, right? And we want to get them right.
No.
We want to get them right. We want a good report card.
Joan's work is cut out for her.
We're holding you accountable, Joan. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fasliotis.
No, I just wanted to follow up. I think there's a lot of concerning things in here.
No, there is,
And,
but
the fact of the matter is we have turnover in our town and we have turnover at the Board of Ed. And, that needs to be accounted for and somebody needs to be held accountable for it as well. I mean, I understand, when you have turnover of key personnel, there needs to be things in place so that things like this don't, slip through the cracks. I mean, 3.5 million that we've lost because of this
You
is
didn't lose
significant.
it.
Well,
You didn't get it in a timely manner.
okay, so, but that's also interest and stuff that we're losing on 3.5. So, I think that, I hate to see you go out under this because I know that this has been very distressing to you as well. But I do think that, we do have our work cut out for us and we need to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.
Agreed.
Mr. Weisbrod?
I'll be very brief. I think you've covered it. Just for the record, I'm going to agree completely with Karen that I think whenever we get an audit of this, with a qualified conclusion, it is by its very definition a serious matter, notwithstanding all of the comments which you've made. And I think you're agreeing with that too, Pete. No, there's no debate on that. And so I reiterate that the audit committee also has its work cut out for it, and we all do. We really want to get to the, make sure that the action plans are adhered to, that we have oversight of the BET, because really this is not something that we really want to tolerate. I agree with Karen 100%.
I just wanted noted for the record that at 8:08, David Weisbrod agreed with me.
But at 8:09, it could be different.
Okay, we have,
Leslie has her hand up.
yes, Ms. Moriarty.
Yeah, no, I just want to acknowledge, based on, I think, the discussion at the audit committee meeting that I listened to, that you have a willing and cooperative partner at the Board of Education. I believe you've already started making progress on the action plan to address these deficiencies and are continuing to work together towards that end. And so I think that certainly is the start of the successful attention to the program.
Ms. Tarkington?
So I just also add that this is strictly the operating grants. This does not cover the capital grants that we also have to collect and process and so forth.
Actually, school construction reimbursement is one of the 60 grants that's
Oh, it
in
is?
here. But it does not deal with the issue that you're referring to about getting them in a timely manner. What they're doing is, again, it goes to the timing issue, because if you look at one of the lines is our school construction grants that we get each year have to go into this, and they've got to match the spending to the receipt of the grants. So all of that money we get from New Lebanon, whether it's MISA, any of it, actually is one of these, for this case, it's 60 grants. It could be 55 next year, et cetera.
And does it include the DPW grants also?
I don't know what an EPW grant.
The-
Oh, definitely. LoSIP is in there, LOTSIP is in there, the bridge program is in there, everything. The town clerk's historic document grants, the GUI grants, everything. 60 is a lot of grants.
Right,
It covers a lot of different departments. So it covers everything, that is, if it's a grant from the state or the federal government.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, I think we're ready to accept the report. Could I have a motion to accept?
Second.
Mr. Cow moved. Oh, Mr. Alfano, I'm sorry, I can't tell voices. And Ms. Tarkington seconded. Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, this is adopted or accepted 11-0-0. Next up is approval of the meeting minutes from May 19th. Could I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Mr. Kalb. Okay. With Ms. Moriarty seconding. But I'm not always looking that direction. Any comments or adjustments to the minutes? Any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing none, that's approved 11-0-0. So we move to the chair's report. And I'm going to, for the benefit of the public and the benefit of the people that were not able to attend Friday's event, I'm going to read Mr. Camilla's proclamation. Whereas Peter Minarski was raised in Greenwich, attended Greenwich schools, and along with his wife Angie raised his family in Greenwich. And whereas Pete is a veteran, having served in the United States Army as a specialist 4th class military occupation specialty legal clerk from 1968 to 1970. And whereas Pete worked for the town of Greenwich as an accountant from 1981 to 1985, and then as director of finance for the Greenwich Housing Authority in 1985, before leaving to pursue opportunities in other towns. And whereas Pete returned to the town of Greenwich Finance Department on August 30th, 2004 as comptroller and has served with great distinction since then, implementing many positive initiatives and upgrades to the finance department that have benefited the town during his tenure. And whereas throughout all his time working for the town, Pete has exhibited excellent diplomatic and leadership skills in working with 11 different boards of estimate and taxation on an ever-expanding variety of complex issues, and he enhanced his value to the town by proactively implementing new programs, software, and other initiatives while still enforcing strict financial guidelines. And whereas Pete Minarski is retiring on June 30th, 2025 after a distinguished and productive career. Now therefore, I, Fred Camillo, First Selectman of the Town of Greenwich, do hereby proclaim June 30th, 2025 as Peter P. Minarski Day in the Town of Greenwich and urge all residents to join me in recognizing Pete's contributions to our town and in wishing him well in his retirement and future endeavors. So I'm going to recognize Mr. Weisbrod, who indicated he wanted to say something, and we'll move on to anybody else.
Yes, I was unfortunately not able to be at the Water Club when the festivities took place, which I've gotten reports from everybody who was there were a tremendous success. And I heard some of the remarks or the gist of what other people say. What I'm about to say will be of no surprise. First of all, our chair here has coined a phrase about you, which I think captures it all, and which I use all the time, beloved. You are a beloved figure, not only among the people on the BET, but really across the community, the RTM and elsewhere. People who've known you, work with you, have grown to really go beyond respect into this other area that Harry has enumerated. Your integrity is boundless. In an era where there's political differences, as we all know, you have been a single trustworthy voice. You've earned the respect of your colleagues, not only up here on this dais, but those from previous daises going back many years. Some of the most distinguished people in our community all sing your praises, and that's not happenstance, that's what you've earned. I would also say your dedication. You have been on the job tirelessly through all kinds of events, through whether in my tenure here, through COVID and other traumatic events, and you've been a point of stability and solidity that everyone has been able to rely on. You've also been very patient. Some of the questions that I've asked, and maybe others too, may have tried other people's patience, but to your great credit, you've rolled with those punches and you have answered the questions with remarkable care and respect. You're just a competent person. You have enormous competence. You have tremendous skill, which is evident from all the work that you've done over the course of the other jobs you've had in Trumbull and Weston, Stamford, and all the other things that the proclamation cited. And you've been a teacher. I came on this board not knowing municipal finance, and you have, among a few others, have taught me the nuts and bolts of this, and I'm enormously grateful. So those are just a few thoughts I had, and I'll end with just the first one. You are a beloved figure, and the good news is you are in Greenwich, and you live here, and I hope you won't be a stranger, and I hope we have other occasions, I know we will, to celebrate you and to just, really live in the joy that you've given us and the things we've all learned from you. So thank you so much, Pete.
Thank you, Dave. Okay.
Anybody else? Lucia, Ms. Jansen?
Yes.
Pete, I've had the unique pleasure of working alongside Pete for nearly 20 of his incredible 21 years serving this town. I still remember starting out as a new RTM member on the Parks and Rec Committee, wide-eyed, full of questions, and even back then, he was generous with his time and knowledge. After the 2008 Great Recession, our paths crossed even more closely when I took on the role of chairing the RTM Budget Overview Committee. Like many of us, I had a lot of questions, and he never once made me feel like I shouldn't be asking them. He welcomed the dialogue, always with patience, clarity, and deep respect for the process. More recently, as a member of the BET, I've had the opportunity to work even more closely with him. And over the years, what stood out to me most is not just his deep knowledge of town finances, though that is remarkable, but his unwavering integrity, his steady hand, and his enormous knowledge of town history and past practices. He has a true gift for making the complex understandable, and more than that, he helped make it meaningful, connecting numbers to the values and policy to people. You've been a mentor to many of us, and I can count myself lucky to be one of them. Watching you guide and support your successor, Joan Lynch, with the same generosity and care gives me great confidence in the future. So tonight, I simply want to say thank you. Thank you for your wisdom, your dedication, your partnership, and your heart. As you begin this next chapter, may be it full of relaxation, new adventures, and maybe even some shared pickleball games. And all the things you love. You've more than earned it. Congratulations, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Kalb?
Yeah, I don't have any prepared remarks, but I just wanted to say, to echo some of my colleagues' comments, I couldn't be with you on Friday. Unfortunately, I actually was in Rwanda at the time, doing some work for the World Bank. But I just wanted to, I was thinking about you and remembering that the first time we started to work together was about 7 years ago on the retirement board. And I remember walking in there and there's all this chatter going on. And then there's this one gray-haired guy sitting in the corner of the room and who steps up and goes, just a minute. And everybody stops. And everybody turns around and listens to this guy. And I go, who is this guy? I didn't know you at the time. But it was like that old commercial we used to have. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen, and everything would stop and what's going on? Well, that was you. You sat there and you kind of made some statements. Everybody stopped. Everybody listened, and then the conversation changed direction. And that's when I knew that just how insightful you were and the good experience that you brought to the table and what a valued colleague you could be. And then I was really happy when we had a chance to work even more closely here on the BET. And of course, one of the first things I did was marched right into your office and sat down and said, Pete, how do we do this? And you very kindly kind of said, okay, well, actually what you did is you gave me about 40 pounds of books to read. You kind of loaded me up, and I said, Pete, I can't, oh, don't worry, here's a bag. And you filled up all these documents and said, yeah, why don't you read those and then come back next week and we can talk about them. It's like you gave me homework. So anyway, it was enormously helpful. And, you've been a really strong reference point and an expert on so many things. So just great to work with. We'll miss you. I'm sure that, that Joan will do a great job. We'll be on top of her all the way. But she's had some good mentoring. But anyway, thanks. It's really been great to work with you. Personally.
Mr. Harkington?
Yes. Peter Menarski's 2 decades of town leadership is invaluable to the BET and to the town. We have observed the growth of the town, its budgets, its capital projects, and with that, the growth in Pete's stature with the demands and challenges from pay-as-you-go internal financing to issuing debt, working with the rating agencies and the town's financial advisor, achieving low borrowing rates and saving taxpayers. Simultaneously, Pete has modified and modernized how retiring employees are taken care of through leadership as a voting member of the Retirement Board and establishing the OPEB Trust. We are thankful for Pete's hours dedicated to producing low mill rate increases for the annual budget, actually multiple budgets per year with the separate funds. No one understands the complexities of town revenues and details of the town's fixed charges like Pete. Pete's quiet demeanor commands respect from finance staff, town hall colleagues, and BET members. He provides confidence through knowledge of town financial operations and those of surrounding Connecticut communities. Pete is friendly and will be greatly missed. We thank Pete's wife Angie, their daughters, and families for sharing Pete over the years, including BET and RTM evening meetings. In summary, thank you and warmest wishes on your retirement, Pete.
Anybody to my left? Ms. Vasiliotis.
I just want to say thanks. That's it. Thank you.
Harry, I want to go to, Harry,
I didn't prepare as, okay, you go ahead.
sorry.
Mr.
I wanna-
Selps.
I can't resist piling on a little bit. When I think about you, Pete, what I really think of is that you are really a model public servant. And other people have touched on different aspects of it. But when I think about, my time on the BET and my work with you, what I've seen is you always come in comprehensively prepared. I've never seen you at a loss for words, and frankly, I've rarely seen you even surprised by questions. The other people have talked about this, but I just want to say again, the depth of your knowledge, not just about the current budget, but as I think Leslie Tarkington and some others have said, your historical knowledge of how we got to wherever we are on any particular issue is really quite remarkable. The other things I've seen and that I truly admire are your courtesy and your demeanor. This board, unfortunately, has had its moments of rancor and discord in the last couple of years, and somehow you managed to stay even-keeled, courteous to all of us, even if our questions are not sometimes always as keen or acute as they should be. But also you recognize that we have different points of view and that you have to answer to all of us. And you do that in a way that is it's exemplary and it's truly admirable. We will miss you, and we certainly thank you for your service.
I didn't expect the comments, and I didn't prepare a speech, but however, you've reached me. When you make your comments, I can feel it. I'm honored. It's been an absolute pleasure. Not only there's 12 of you here, I think there was between 50 and 55 BET members I've known over the years. Amazingly, I don't think I had a single enemy out of the whole 50. I got along with some of the previous ones that were considered outliers by the BET that were actually spent many hours in my office. But I appreciate it. Not only the BET in this setting here, the 12 of you, I truly enjoyed the subcommittees, the audit committees, the IACs, et cetera. The other Friday night, actually, I said this to Jeff Raymond when he was leaving a couple of years ago. My favorite committee was the audit committee. The audit committee was led by Art Norton with Bill Kelly, Joe Pellegrino, and Jeff Raymer. And what was unique about that was it seemed like every time they had a vote, it was either 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. You all remember, most of you remember Art. Art was a lovable guy kind of thing, but that was my favorite committee, was the audit committee, and that's where I have most of my memories, good memories. Almost all of them are great memories, but I really, when I say it's a pleasure, it's been a pleasure, I really, really mean it is, I respect your volunteers. The public should know how much you put into this. Take the rancor or whatever it is out of it. It would be boring if you guys didn't get, every once in a while, get into a fist fight. You know, it just, it's entertaining for TV. It's just, politicians, they don't, sometimes they just don't get along, but it's, the 12 appointments, the last 21 years, it's been fantastic, and I really loved it, and I am truly going to miss it. And I will be around, not at this level, but for a few months, so I will see a bunch of you. So it's, I don't want to say goodbye right now, but I really thank you for the comments, and thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you all. That brings our business to a close. Just a reminder, our next meeting is July 21st. And I already know there are going to be some very important items on the agenda, so please make sure that that's locked in your calendars. And if there are any issues, let me know.
Move to adjourn at 8:28.
And Karen Fasiliadis moves to adjourn at 8:28.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Alfano. Without objection, we're adjourned.